You also mentioned that you chose a different approach to this campaign than before. How did you come to this conclusion?
Well, it was pretty easy because you saw the previous campaign that we had. There was a billboard campaign showing same-sex couples just holding hands or embracing in front of the National Parliament or in front of the National Assembly. And the billboards were really vandalized, and they were sprayed, they were chopped. There was a protest organized in front of a billboard. People were protesting. It's the first time I see a protest in front of a billboard. So we decided it's obvious this doesn't work, because people are then close to our messages in the moment that they see an LGBT same-sex couple. So we decided we need a new approach, and what better approach, and I'm mentioning today during our sessions, that we need to broaden, I think, our messages, that we are not alone in our fight, that there are other minorities, the Roma minority, the Jewish community, that we should reach out to and unite with them, people with different abilities. And that's why we decided that this should be the approach in the video, that we are all different, as you saw, that we are all different, but that shouldn't be that we shouldn't be subject to hate. And that's why we decided we're going to show all these different minorities. And believe it or not, I saw people like really traditional family values people who never even reach out to our page, that they were sharing the videos. And for example, like folk, popular folk, I don't know, singers or people who would, maybe they didn't clearly understand the message of the video, but they were sharing it, and these shares really accumulated, and at the end of the day, I really hope that people who saw it actually took something out of it, that it didn't just reach the Mugo Middle and our allies.
It's very interesting for me that the two campaigns that received the most votes happened in completely different environments. We all know that Ireland recently, or not so recently now, you had a successful referendum on a core LGBT issue. Do you think that this campaign that you delivered now would have worked before the referendum as well? Or how did the referendum itself change Irish society?
I think that that's a really good question. I think that what happened during the marriage referendum is that there was a level of public discussion really that hadn't happened previously. So I think that that was very important to raising the visibility of the lesbian and gay community in particular among the general population in Ireland. I do think, however, that in that campaign that the bisexual community in Ireland and the trans community in Ireland were not as visible by any means. And I think that that's one of the reasons why this campaign advances upon those achievements, because it addresses homophobia, biphobia and transphobia. And it was really important to us that our video in particular tried to be inclusive of the variety of identities under the LGBT umbrella. So I think the other thing that possibly has happened in the aftermath of the marriage equality campaign is that Irish people, I think, are rightly very, very proud of that referendum result. However, I think that there can be a sense that everything is fine now. Everything that needed to be achieved was achieved, and that there are no more issues and there are no more challenges, and we know that that's not the case. I retweeted this morning an article from Gay Community News in Ireland about another homophobic assault in Dublin. We have no room for complacency and a lot more to do.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to work on the marriage equality campaign. Before the referendum took place, we suspected that Ireland had changed as a country in the last 15, 20 years. but we didn't know to what extent that change had embedded itself. And you know, up to the week of the referendum, the campaign team were still nervous that they weren't going to win, or something would resonate from the no side, which would put enough fear in people's minds that they couldn't take that extra step to grant marriage equality. And then they won, you know, 2/3, 1/3 or thereabouts majority, and it was a huge surprise and a huge relief. And since then, I think if you were to run that campaign again, it would be even higher. I mean, last year we had the reproductive rights, the abortion referendum. That was a staggering figure of support for reproductive rights, where there wouldn't have been. So if you were to run the marriage equality campaign again, I think you would see, and even, as Amanda says, people are proud now. They feel they're leading the world. But the other thing about this campaign was, the LGBT community said, that's great, it's great that we have marriage equality, and it's great that the general population think marriage equality is great, but we still experience these daily microaggressions. And those microaggressions are constant. It's the background, I think it was the term was the background noise to our lives, and they lead to hate crimes. So it starts with the microaggressions, but it can quickly escalate into that hate crime, and that experience of hate crime, that assault, or that criminal damage, or that vandalism, whatever it is. So the LGBT community knew that the work needed to be done. They're incredibly proud of marriage equality, but for them, for our community, it's very much, we should have these rights, they are our rights, and we hope that the rights are respected, that's great, but we need a full panoply of rights and equality. So this campaign is trying to tap into that.
So your campaign was organized within a cooperation of an NGO and the university. What's the history of this relationship, and what was the added value in this cooperation?
Let me go first. Many years ago, I was working at the Irish Council for Civil Liberties, and we were doing a little bit of work on hate crime for the European Union, for FRA, the Fundamental Rights Agency. And from that, we sort of developed an interest in hate crime, the fact that there was no hate crime law. Unbeknownst to us, there was these incredible academics from the University of Limerick who were forging ahead, looking at the issue of hate crime, not only in Ireland, but were pioneering an international network around hate studies. And that is Jennifer Schwepp and Amanda Haynes. And so every opportunity I've had to work with Jennifer and Amanda on previous hate crime studies, I have seized, and I have been richly rewarded. But on this campaign, I came into TENI, and you had already agreed previously with TENI to work on this campaign. So I inherited a relationship with Jennifer and Amanda again. But it's incredible. They are pioneers in Ireland, absolutely, and I think pioneers in Europe on pushing forward for hate crime. And they are a fly in the ear of government that is not going away, and I think the government are beginning to realise that now. So we are now seeing consultations on reforming hate speech laws, and we know that they're reviewing hate crime laws, and that is down to the work of Jennifer and Amanda. So we're delighted to be partnering with them, and we're delighted that they take such an interest in trans rights.
Stephen's very kind. We've been very privileged to work with TENI on a number of occasions. So TENI has, for a number of years now, been collecting information on hate incidents which have occurred to members of the trans community. And one of the things that we've been able to do is to provide them with pro bono analysis of that data, because it is very important that people have opportunities to log somewhere. And I know people were talking earlier about at least logging something on Facebook or logging something on a WhatsApp board so somebody knows what has happened. It's important that people have the opportunity to log, but it's also important that people see that that data is then communicated and shared, and that it's put in the hands of policymakers and legislators who can act upon it. So we've been very grateful to be able to help in that process. We've also worked with TENI on a project examining the experiences of the trans community in Ireland of policing, which was another very successful encounter. It was actually launched by an assistant commissioner of the police. So again, trying to bring together policymakers, academics and activists. I think at the end of the day, for myself and Jennifer as researchers, what we do would not be meaningful without people like TENI, who take what we do and make it matter and make it count. So we're very grateful for that relationship.
Now, looking back at the campaign, is there anything that you would do differently, or something that came up on the way and that you didn't expect and you should have been prepared for? Or
in our case, I would definitely add we're gonna make the English subtitles bigger because we didn't expect that so many people would want to share it, to comment on it, to use it as a tool. So definitely we're gonna make subtitles bigger or make an English version.
Two things. One, we ran a couple of billboards in the city. I don't think I'd bother with billboards again. I think they have the least impact because we could only do 3, and so 3 billboards is only a very small number of very untargeted people will see them, and if they even look at them on their daily commute, it's questionable. So we could have spent the money in other ways. I think when we started, we thought billboards are going to be everywhere and it's going to be, you know, plastered, but it's so expensive. But the other thing that strikes me a lot, the online social media buzz around Call It Hate was huge, and so there was lots of chatter, and we would meet people and people would talk to us about it. And anybody you spoke to has heard of the campaign, or at least anyone I've spoken to has heard of the campaign. But the mainstream, I don't want to sound like Donald Trump, but the mainstream media didn't really pick up on the story. So they did feature us and say, oh, you have a campaign, that's great, what's this? Oh, it's lovely, well done, and what's it about? Transphobia. But they didn't drill into, what is this issue around transphobia and biphobia and homophobia? And so I don't think we featured too regularly on sort of the Sunday morning talk shows on radio where people are sort of lying in bed listening to the radio and tuning into political discourse. That didn't happen, and that annoyed me to some degree, and I wonder how to capture that interest from the media. I don't think the media had a great understanding of it. I think everybody else did. The media were a bit blind.
I'm going to agree and disagree on that. I think that actually the work that we did was agenda setting. So I think that what we could see is that when we created the buzz online in particular, and the out-of-door media, particularly like the washroom posters and the posters that were up in loo stops and on public transport, when they captured attention, and we were also greatly helped throughout the campaign by celebrity champions, people like MEP Maria Walsh, who it's very important to mention, Brendan Courtney, also Jack Murphy as well, all of whom helped to launch the campaign and to bring attention to it. And that was agenda setting for the media. So we ended up with more than 40 mainstream media items between newspaper articles and broadsheets and tabloids, and then also coverage on radio shows and so on. So, and that really helped to get out to the general public. I suppose to add a bit of nuance there, what I would say is that I understand Stephen's frustration, because I think that some of that conversation was more around what should the state do about anti-LGBT hate crime, or sometimes what can the LGBT community tell us about anti-LGBT hate crime. And I think one of the really important points that was actually raised at the community discussion in Dublin, which was hosted by Gay Community News, was that the conversation needs to shift from LGBT people saying, here's what we can do about hate crime, to straight cis people saying, what should we be doing about hate crime, and how are we part of this? How are we part of anti-LGBT hate crime? That's the bit that we need to work on more. So
Piotr revealed his findings about the possible target groups of a campaign. He identified allies, haters, the carers, and bystanders. In this segmentation, how would you identify the target group of your campaign? who did you target?
We had a number of targets, I think, and I think we even did target the haters. You know, the radio ad is a good example of trying to appeal to that young male demographic that might be a perpetrator or who might be sneering or dismissive of LGBT people in a way that causes those microaggressions which then lead on to other things. So I think we did that. We certainly appealed to allies and those people who care. I think we did have a sort of a broad spectrum. I mean, that's the thing about doing a campaign that you're focusing on the general population. It does force you to think about who is the general population and how do you approach them. And then certainly, obviously, the LGBT community and their allies were a key messenger. And the allies really came out strong, I think. I think the allies came out very strong, as well as the community. The community really welcomed the opportunity to be visible in the campaign, but the allies, I think, were very strong in pushing that as well.
I think that in all the groups that we did target, I suppose the one thing that we would say about them in common is that, and I think that Pio recognised this himself when he was talking about the segmentation. He used the term haters, but at the same time you were acknowledging that these are not necessarily bad people. And I suppose that's something we encounter constantly talking about hate crime. You know, the label itself is a bit problematic because often what we're talking about is prejudice, bias, hostility, not necessarily hate per se. And I guess even among the groups that the research indicated to us we had more work to do for, we tried to approach them positively. We tried not to scold, we tried not to admonish, we tried to, as we say, meet them where they're at and take them from that point.
In our case, it was when we started the campaign, we actually divided out our target audience in three, and those were the supporters, the movable middle, and the haters. And we decided that we're gonna work only in the middle. So the campaign was not targeting the allies, the LGBT community, was not targeting the haters, because we honestly, I don't believe that any campaign can change their perceptions and prejudice, but we decided we're going to target the movable middle, the people who really don't realize that hate crimes are dangerous, that hate speech has an effect on them. So it was entirely targeted on the movable middle.
Any questions? Yeah.
We are not directly involved in any of the Call It Hate campaigns, so it's been amazing to discover and learn more about all of the campaigns that we've done. I'm really in awe of the work that you're doing in the national countries. My question is, I was wondering if, as you were preparing the campaign, if you had any strategy in place for anyone who was directly or indirectly affected by hate crime, and when they came forward to you through the campaign, how you responded to these people.
GLAS is actually, our foundation is actually operating an online reporting platform, and it was one of the first projects that we started, and it's already 5 years old. So whenever there was a case on the website that we created with the campaign and with the resources, there was also the option to report a hate crime, whether you've been a victim or a witness. So through that we were also gathering data, and in the case where you didn't report anonymously, we connected the people with with our legal team and also with the police. So in our case it had this effect.
On the website we had very clear and accessible information on what to do if you experienced a hate incident, including taking people through the process of police reporting. But in addition to that, we had, I suppose TENI themselves have a support function, but we also had really good connections with all the other national LGBT organisations who also have support functions and who were part of a steering group for the project. So we were all in contact, and we were able to provide information on their support services as part of the campaign as well.
Yeah, it did happen on occasion that somebody came forward and said, I've been a victim of a hate crime, or that happened during the campaign, as you said, it's still happening. And we practiced in dealing with trauma that way, and we would have referral pathways for people to contact other specialists who can help. So we were very conscious of that. We were also very conscious of the fact that LGBT people don't have great relationships with the police in terms of reporting, and we were conscious that we wanted to ensure that people felt supported from this process. And that also means the message that you're trying to convey to people. So we were saying to people who were particularly were LGBT, when we're saying call it out, we don't necessarily mean you have to stand up right there and then in the face of the perpetrator. It means seeking support, it means telling somebody, it means formulating a strategy that you want to pursue, or asking somebody for help, or somebody helping you. That's what it means to call it out, not just, hey, stop. So that was important.
Amanda, you mentioned Rory O'Neill, known as Panty, the drag queen, the Queen of Ireland, from the movie. I don't know if anybody saw that movie. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's one of the best things ever. And I was wondering, because his role, Rory's role in the marriage equality referendum and the campaign was, not to overestimate, I suppose. And I was wondering whether he was in any way involved in your campaign as a supporter, as the one through whose channels also the message went, and where was there any collaboration with Rory on this campaign as well? Because I know that his influence is also very, very big on IB society. It's very well known and very well respected. So just wondering whether he was involved in this one as well.
We over-rely on one personality, and Rory is very visible. And so we didn't choose to go with Rory on this occasion. The people that came to us, particularly the three people who launched the campaign, Brendan Courtney and Maria Walsh and Jack Murphy, all spoke about their experiences of being victims of hate crime or those microaggressions that can pursue you through life. So Maria will be quite well known. She was a major national competition winner in Ireland. Jack was the first trans actor on Irish television, and Brendan is a very known celebrity and designer who people will know from the TV. And so that they were our champions at the beginning, and we used them again and again through the campaign, particularly in those media appearances. But we got an endorsement from Panty, that was really important. But on this occasion we didn't have Panty front and centre, or Rory. But also, it's very hard to pin Rory down. Panty's very busy and in great demand, so on that occasion we didn't. But Rory supported us, and so many other LGBT champions like David Norris, etc., supported us from the start, and that really gave us credibility.
If there are no more questions, then I would like to congratulate again for the campaign.